Look at the American economy today. It is a highly engineered, centrally regulated machine. But in the 19th century, that machine did not exist. The American financial system was a completely unregulated jungle, and that jungle was brutal. Without a safety net, the country plunged into severe economic panics almost every single decade, leaving thousands of businesses bankrupt and entire cities financially shattered. This map shows exactly why this system kept failing. There was no central bank. Instead, over 1,600 private banks were busy printing their own competing currencies. A dollar in New York might be completely worthless in Pennsylvania. The United States had the raw resources to become an industrial superpower, but its absolute lack of structural order guaranteed it would keep collapsing in on itself. J.P. Morgan watched this chaos unfold from a unique vantage point. He spent his early years being educated in the highly structured financial capitals of Europe. He saw a stark contrast. London operated with patient, centralized wealth, guided by strict rules. Back home, American businessmen were obsessed with short-term greed and reckless speculation. Watching these two worlds, Morgan understood something crucial. America's problem wasn't a lack of capital or ambition, it lacked order. The math was simple. If someone could find a way to impose European-style discipline onto American chaos, they could effectively become the king of the entire system. That realization became the foundation of Morgan's playbook. And the first trend he exploited was the crisis itself. A typical investor tries to make money in a stable, predictable market. Morgan did the exact opposite. He actively waited for the system to break down. Every time one of those regular banking panics swept through the country, otherwise healthy companies suddenly found themselves starved for cash. Morgan knew that desperation creates the ultimate discount. When the system collapsed, he stepped in and acquired vital infrastructure for pennies on the dollar. But buying cheap assets was only step one. The second trend was a process so aggressive it earned its own name, Morganization. Morgan hated free market competition. He watched rival railroad companies build parallel tracks right next to each other, bleeding cash just to run their opponents out of business. So he put an end to it. In 1885, he invited the presidents of two warring railroads onto his private yacht, the Corsair. Once they were on board, Morgan effectively locked the doors. He refused to let them leave the boat until they agreed to stop fighting and combine their operations. By forcing rivals to merge, Morgan eliminated the chaos of the free market. He created guaranteed stability and handed himself absolute pricing power over American infrastructure. There was only one man capable of threatening Morgan's perfectly ordered ecosystem: Andrew Carnegie, the undisputed king of American steel. Carnegie's mills were ruthlessly efficient. He owned the entire supply chain, from the iron mines to the transport lines, giving him the power to trigger a massive price war that could bankrupt Morgan's heavy investments. Following a secret dinner, Morgan's associates handed Carnegie a proposal. Carnegie returned a slip of paper with a single number written on it: $480 million. Morgan accepted instantly. He took Carnegie's massive empire, merged it with 9 other major companies, and created U.S. Steel. It became the world's very first billion-dollar corporation. Morgan absorbed an entire industry in a single stroke to permanently insulate his investments from the unpredictability of competition. The final trend of the playbook was systemic dependency, put to the test during the brutal panic of 1907. Bank runs paralyzed the city. This chart shows the rapid devastation on the New York Stock Exchange, losing half its value in a matter of weeks as major trust companies completely collapsed. As the contagion spread, Morgan took drastic action. He summoned America's top financial heads to his private library and locked them inside. He delivered a simple ultimatum: no one leaves until they pledge $30 million to stop the panic. In that room, with no government agency to step in, a single private citizen was acting as the central bank of the United States, deciding on his own if the economy lived or died. Morgan did not organize these rescues out of patriotism or charity. His railroads, steel mills, and banks were deeply intertwined. If the national economy failed, the resulting domino effect would have wiped out his own wealth. Morgan had effectively turned systemic dependency into his most profitable asset, ensuring that the survival of the American economy was inseparable from his own. For the United States government, the events of 1907 exposed a dangerous reality. The survival of the republic now rested on the whims and wealth of a single citizen. To ensure nobody could ever hold the country hostage like that again, the government established the Federal Reserve in 1913. J.P. Morgan constructed the foundation of the modern American economy, but his unchecked power was so vast, the government was forced to invent the modern regulatory system simply to replace him.